Hey, so last week I gave you my very first impressions about the ABBA Voyage show experience, and some of you might have noticed I was somewhat emotional. So I went there again for a second time, Friday evening, for the official first performance. And I want to talk a little about that today and also answer some of your questions that you had last time. So, on that very first night, I was, as I told you, in the front row, right in front of the stage. And on that Friday evening, I had a seating place in Block C, front row, immediately in front of the dance floor area. So this time I could observe more to the left, I could observe to the right, in front of me, back and center. I could really explore the whole atmosphere, sit down, relax, and really take it all in. And this experience really confirmed my first impressions. This show is a triumph. It is a triumph not only technically, but emotionally and artistically. It truly is an incredible artistic achievement. And I also realized again, this really is a pure ABBA production. And what I mean by that is, it is like with their music, you sometimes need to listen to it more than once to really get it, to really fall in love with it. And the same goes for this show. There are so many details, so many layers, and I can say that both shows are really identical to each other, which was good in a way, so I could take in all of those details. And the sequence of songs is really flawless. There is an incredible flow. There is a concept that you don't really know what it means, but it feels like having a meaning. It has something to do with Greek mythology, with rebirth, and there is also a lot of variation, as I told you last time. Not one performance is the same. Sometimes the avatars are on stage, sometimes they are on the big screens, and sometimes there is something completely different. And the atmosphere on that second night, once again, was just phenomenal. Already with this entire opening section, the crowd went wild, they went crazy. And one of the biggest receptions in the entire show was for the two new songs. Which artists can do that? I mean, artists who have been around for decades and who are creating new music and performing those new songs in concert, it usually does not get this big a reception as their classic material. But it was completely the opposite. Those two new songs, they really got one of the biggest receptions. It was one of the highlights of the show. And I'm thinking it is impeccable what they did for us. They really did everything and so much more than we could ever ask for. And it still feels like a big, big dream. And so many of you had questions for the show and for the sound, for the avatars, for the concept. And I want to go through some of them now. So Pablo Luis asked, in your opinion, which are the best seats to fully enjoy this incredible show? Can anyone else help me decide? Maybe someone can give their input, because I can say that I can't really answer that because I haven't checked every seat. It's that simple. But what I can say is that I was front row in front of the stage, and I was on that very first row in Block C. And both times I experienced it probably the way I should experience it. I mean, when I was really in front of the stage, you just turn around and you can see the entire atmosphere and really take it all in as well. So my impression also from what people told me from their different seats is that no seat really probably has any disadvantages to the other seats. The next question was from Alexio Verdo, and he asked, tell us some more about the fans' reactions. Did they enjoy their worldwide meeting, this coexistence? Were there happy smiling faces afterwards? Did they shed a tear? Yes, yes, and yes. But again, I can't speak for every fan, of course, if they enjoyed it. But my general feeling is that, judging from the overall atmosphere, they were beaming with those avatars, with the music, and with this completely out of this world experience. We were beaming as one, as if we too are in a completely different world for 95 minutes. That's really how it was. Alf Carlson asked how many songs. So there are 20 main ABBA songs, but there is more in the beginning, in the end, and also in between. We will talk about that in the next video. Philip Chan asked, did you feel that ABBA recorded new vocals for the old songs, or did they use the original vocals and mix them into new live versions of the music? So the vocals are all taken from original studio recordings, but sometimes there are vocal parts from those original recordings that were never released before and that are now incorporated into the show. Simon Farmer asked, how good was the band in replicating the album's sound? So that one is interesting because since the vocals are taken from original studio recordings, the band is kind of bound to reproduce the album's sound and rhythm. And really, this was as close as you could get to the original recordings. But it's not a copy, it's basically really a perfect mixture of original studio recordings and live feeling. And I can also say that the sound was very loud. Graphic Jack asked, did the avatars feel convincing not only generally as people but as the individuals themselves? Did they dance and move as the band members did back in 1979, or were they somehow slightly different? So this is a yes and no answer in my personal opinion, and there are many moments when they do feel like the original members on stage. One example is the performance of SOS, which was also released on social media as a small snippet. I think they move as close as possible like the original members would be moving on stage. But there is also a somewhat futuristic approach to it, which I really loved. That was one of my personal highlights. So in these cases, the avatars feel futuristic, and you should try to understand the avatars as a new form of ABBA, like an alternate reality, which again, as I said, I really enjoyed, and it is definitely believable. And I also want to stress once again that they really look as if they are on stage, three-dimensional and everything. It is absolutely impeccable. Semtan asked, were there any aspects of the show that you didn't like? I wouldn't say that there is an entire aspect that I didn't like. However, as I said last time already, be aware that, in my personal opinion, the avatars are avatars. They are not real persons. But very often they are so convincing that you really believe, or you, I should say, tend to forget that they are computer generated. However, there are only two things that really make us aware, oh, they are avatars. And one of them is the eyes, especially in close-ups. When you see them on the big screen, the eyes very often look kind of lifeless. But on some moments, they look astonishingly real as well. So I'm very sure that this is an aspect that they are able to work on in the future. And the second aspect concerning the avatars is when they speak to the audience. That really works extremely well too, and the audience go along with it. But there are some moments when the dialogue has a pause, and basically Agneta or whoever is talking is waiting for an audience reaction. However, very often the audience has already reacted and the pause of that dialogue is still going on. And then she says, "Thank you so much," or whatever else. And those are those moments when you realize, oh, hang on, this is not real. But again, you realize it in those moments. So for, I would say 70-80%, you really tend to forget kind of that they are not real. And as I said, these things can be worked on, and I still have to say that they are ABBA's avatars. It's a very unique feeling. Another aspect I was somewhat confused in the beginning had to do with the band, but not with the band as such, not at all. They are marvelous, they really are. But it has to do, actually, it's very fitting to the next question from Bobby Younger, and he asked, "So far of the short clips I have seen of the show, all I see are the avatars. Do you actually see the 10-piece band playing?" So the band is placed to the left of the auditorium, and sometimes they are visible, but sometimes they are not. And this was at first kind of a criticism for myself, because I expected them really to be spread across the stage amongst the avatars, amongst the action, like it would be in a true concert. However, the more I thought about it, I realized it's not really possible, since the avatar action is so immersive and spread throughout this space that logistically and technically it wouldn't be possible to mix the real band into it. But I can say that the band certainly get their moments to shine. Cedric of Paris asked, "So I guess it does deserve a travel from Paris to see that magic?" Again, I can't answer that. It depends on what you want to see. But if you don't want to miss the current state-of-the-art experience, if you don't want to miss being part of what ABBA has in store for us now, then I would say do it, make your plans, try to save money if you can, and make this trip. If you are afraid of traveling or flying, do it. You can do it, you should do it. You do not want to miss this new ABBA creation. And finally, there is another question from Alexio Vero, and he said, referring to the opening night, "I read that when the real ABBA appeared on stage, in the end, the sound of the rapturous crowd was deafening." The sound when ABBA appeared on stage, I've been to many concerts, including Paul McCartney, but the sound of all four members of ABBA appearing on stage, living legends that haven't appeared on stage for 40 years for an ABBA event, that sound was tremendous. I can tell you that. I was front row, as I said, and I could literally feel a wall of sound pushing me. And it was like 1,000 jet planes hovering over your head. It almost felt like the roof of the arena would go off any second. And I'm not exaggerating, this is how it felt. And I will never forget this moment. Next time, I'll take you back with me to my trip through London, my voyage to the ABBA Arena and beyond. And very soon, we will be diving very deep into the Voyage show for all of you who really can't be there, who want to know every detail, or who simply want to relive their memories if they had been there already. Alright, until then, hey do!